Our guest today is Executive Director of Safe Kids Now, author, speaker, crime consultant, and multi-talented woman, Stephanie Mann. Welcome, Stephanie.
Good morning, Rebecca. It's so good to see you this morning.
It's wonderful to have you back today. You have been working with people nationwide and growing with Safe Kids Now. And
Right.
you've had multi contacts. And today you're going to feature some of those contacts and what they do and just what the outreach of Safe Kids Now is expanding into. Of course, we couldn't really cover all of it. We'd be here a week, but we're going to give a little phase of it.
Yes, and I'm so excited to talk about some of our members at Safe Kids Now. Anybody is invited to join us because it's a wonderful learning experience for all of us to share information. But many of our members are authors, or they've done television, or they have a program like you do. And it is such a pleasure to hook up with people that are really trying to make a difference and are making a difference in their community. So that's exciting for all of us.
That's very exciting. When we were on a conference call this past month, there were wonderful speakers coming in. And this just expanded the ideas, the expressions, the outreach, the work, and the accomplishments of Safe Kids Now. Which one of those are you going to lead us into today?
Well, I thought I would start out with a man with a letter A. It seems alphabetical, and AJ Jelani, I thought I would just tell you just a little bit about him or your viewers because you know a lot about him.
Yes, I do.
And AJ is a perfect example of how one person can change his neighborhood. And he did that just by getting connected with the kids on the block. He has, in the last 20 years, he has changed the lives of all the children. Many of the kids on his block had single mothers. And as a result of that, he became the mentor, the role model. And he provided information for kids. And now, at this point in his life, and he's been doing this 20 years, they are now coming back to thank him for keeping them out of gangs. So one person can really make a difference. So I just wanted to start with AJ Jelani in Richmond, California, because he is such a good role model for all of us.
I had the good pleasure, as you're aware, of meeting him and interviewing him a few years ago.
Right.
And I was totally impressed with this man. You cannot speak to him without being moved from the heart of what he is doing for people and the lives he's changed. And I don't think the average person really realizes that a life of a child,
Hmm.
a life of anybody, but particularly the life of a child, can be changed with love and acceptance and a little bit of encouragement.
Absolutely. He was telling me about some boys throwing rocks at a car, and instead of scolding them, he went over and he said, guys, if you stop that and don't do it again, I'll go buy you a snack at the corner store. And they said, oh, okay. But that was the last time they threw rocks at cars. I mean, that's a very small thing, but small things add up to big things when it comes to kids. So not only that, but every year for 20 years, he's given a Christmas party and with as many as 300 children. And all of the neighbors chipped in. They built a sleigh for the kids to have their pictures taken with Santa Claus. I mean, he's just a wonderful role model for any neighborhood. So I just wanted to start out with AJ.
The wonderful thing about AJ is that he did not let lack of funding or lack of anything stop him. He started with nothing but his heart.
That's all you have to do.
Yes, just his heart, just a little time, a little understanding, a little caring. And that did it.
Right.
And how many years has he been doing this?
Well, I've known him for 22 years, and he started Christmas, Peace on the Streets, about that same time when I was working as a consultant in Richmond, California. So I know he's been doing it that long, so it's probably been 25 years.
Fatherless children. When I say fatherless, I mean absentee fathers.
Right.
Kids growing up without fathers, kids growing up without any male identity that's positive for them is increasing by massive amounts.
We need more men to get involved in just taking time to know the kids on the block. The mothers are usually there for their kids. The fathers, not so much. So we need to really encourage dads to get out and connect with the kids.
And when you have single parent families,
Yeah,
the mom's time also is cut down. It
absolutely.
has to be in order to take care of all of their needs because there's not two parents
Right.
helping.
That's right. So that was just one. And another person that I'd like to mention is with an A, Pastor Andre Jackson. And Pastor Jackson, who is also in Richmond, California. And you know what's so wonderful about the people that belong to Safe Kids now? They're all passionate about helping kids. They're very concerned about it. And here's a book that he wrote. It's called Walking the Path with God, Preach It and Teach It. So this is his little book, but these people are all making a difference. They're really trying to help create a better society for all of us. So, the politicians can go about fighting the way they want to fight, and you can show all kinds of things on the media that harm kids. But, basically, kids need connections. They need people trying to help each other. So, pastors, neighbors, and then there's Jordan Ryak, and Jordan.
Yes, I
And
do.
he published this book, which he sends out for free. If anybody would like a copy of Plain Talk About Spanking, Jordan is the fellow to contact. All you have to do is go to our website and go to look for our members page, which is in the About column on safekidsnow.com, and you can find all of these people. We have another member by the name of Pat Flashman, and Pat read this book, The War on Intimacy. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And she was so upset by this book, she bought a case of these books. And these are the agenda driven by sex ed, sabotage, committed relationships, and our nation's health. That's what this book is about. And she was so upset about the contents of what is happening with our children that she bought a case, as I said, of these books, and she's giving them away free. So you can also go to our website and find out how you can get a copy of The War on Intimacy. These people are all concerned about what's happening to our children in the United States. And then we have Emily Slingloff's contribution. And here's her. It's called The Little Book About a Big Topic, Parenting Without Punishment. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, that's nice.
Okay, and her book is on Amazon. And Emily lives in Virginia, uh, Virginia Beach, uh, um, and she has created this book based on her experience of kids need love. They don't need to be hit. We have a huge problem of child abuse in this country. We have a huge problem of domestic violence. All of that is child abuse. We have got to stop it. And how do you stop it? You stop it with more concern about our neighbors, more concern with what's happening in our families, and more concern about speaking up. You guys, we've all got to speak up, and if you see anything happening, you've got to step in and say something. And parents have to be receptive to having their children corrected because that has been a big change, and that has been devastating to kids. It takes a lot of people to raise your child. You don't do it by yourself.
Well, children need attention and acceptance and caring. And if
Absolutely.
they don't get the attention the right way,
That's
they'll get
right.
it the wrong way. This is what people don't understand. These kids need to know they're valued. There's something inside of them screaming, look at me, I exist. And if you don't notice, they'll make you notice. And we
Yeah,
need to get a hold of that. We need to teach that child to value themselves because they're not going to if we don't.
that's right. And it's so important for not just the parents to value your child, but you need to go to school and make sure the teachers and the other kids are respecting each other. And if they're not, you need to speak up. Too many people have been sitting back waiting for somebody else to make things happen in this society, and it's not the way it works. It works by all of us putting our children first. They have to be first. I'm a grandmother, and I know my children and their spouses all go to school. They make sure that the right things are happening for their kids, but they are open to hear when their children do something wrong, and that's equally important. You've got to understand that if your child is bullying or if your child is a victim, we need to speak up as parents and help that child. You don't accuse the police, we don't accuse the teachers, we make children responsible for themselves.
Well, we need to take a look at punishment and realize that punishment should be changed to responsibility and understanding. If the
Absolutely.
child has to learn to be responsible for their behavior, they'll quit. Punishment usually makes them a better criminal. That's what we've got going on in our prisons. It's a
Sure is.
it's a college now for criminals, and there still is no responsibility. Responsibility for one's behavior helps a person understand how to navigate through life. How can they navigate through life without that?
They don't successfully navigate it at all. If they're angry, and if you've got a child that's angry, you've got to turn that around and help them find out why they are angry, what's making them upset, and that takes listening, asking questions, and listen. So many parents are just marching in and saying, "Well, you got to get stronger. You got to do this. You got to do that." Listen to them. Take the time. That's love. Listening is love, and we all need to take the time to hear what our kids have to say. And if they say, one of the things that's disturbing, and I'm learning more about this because we have a lot of people. We have, well, how many? Two or three on our Safe Kids Now national network that are involved in child sex trafficking. They're trying to get girls out of the sex trafficking business. And so many times, these are kids that have run away or they're vulnerable. Parents haven't made them strong enough to be able to resist walking away from their home and going with a stranger. We're not talking to our kids enough. And this is a fastest growing crime in America, child sex trafficking. And it, let's put the responsibility where it belongs, and it belongs on we, the adults. All of us need to take responsibility for our role and what we have played in order for children to feel so dysfunctional. And that means the media promotes sex and violence. They need to take responsibility. Our neighborhoods are disconnected. Parents don't know the people on the block, so they're disconnected. We've got people blaming the police for violence in Ferguson and in Baltimore when it's the parents that need to take responsibility for their children. My child will not go out and loot stores because that would never be acceptable in my neighborhood, in my home, that kind of behavior. So we got to stop blaming and start looking at our own behavior and what we can do to change it to keep our children safe.
A lot of these quote unquote angry little and big hoodlums on the street that are, breaking into shops and ruining cars and stealing and etc. Let's get down to anger for a moment. Anger and fear are brothers. They come from the same family.
They sure do.
These boys are afraid of not being able to make it or to be rejected by their gang if they don't act out. They're afraid. They're not brave. They are afraid. And
Yes.
they want to blame someone else for their behavior. It's so ridiculous. We are not, you and I are not, America is not, people are not responsible for what happened before they were even born. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just step into the here and now and be a decent, responsible human being here and now. They don't get that. They want to play games of, oh, what happened in history or the color of somebody's skin. You know what? We all belong to the same tribe.
We sure do.
The human tribe.
And we need to take responsibility.
That's
As a crime and violence prevention consultant for over 35 years, I wrote a book, and I'm going to show that to you. This is called Street Safe Kids.
right.
Do you know the strongest people I've ever met are in the minority community? And that's because they've had so much adversity. And one of the things that I learned, or I learned a lot, matter of fact, but Earl had asked me to help him with his neighborhood. And Earl had some real problems. They had a drug dealer on one corner, and they had a prostitute at the corner grocery store. Well, it was a liquor store. And they wanted to clean up the neighborhood because they had quite a few children in that neighborhood. And in the process of getting the neighborhood cleaned up, meaning getting neighbors together, getting them to speak up and get the police resources in there, they had to take down descriptions. They had to monitor what was happening in the neighborhood. The neighbors actually worked together to clean up this neighborhood. And as a result of that, they got rid of the prostitutes in the neighborhood, and they got rid of the drug dealer down the block. Anyway, I won't go into the whole detail because, this took a while. This was no easy project. So I met Earl's daughter. Her name was Prestina. And I said to Prestina, because this girl, I think she was 11 or 12. And every single time I saw her, she had a big smile on her face. She was happy. And I said to her one day, I said, Prestina, why are you so happy? And she said to me, well, I don't know. She said, oh, and then she thought about it, and she said, well, my mom and dad take me to church every Sunday, and the best thing is that they taught me to be a gift in other people's lives. And I thought, wow, she has learned at age 11 years old what many adults do not know. We all need to be a gift in other people's lives. So that's what our network is all about. It's being a gift in other people's lives, and people are writing books, they're writing articles, they're working in their community, and that is the nature of many Americans. And we would invite anybody to join us that would like to help with this process. And you said something wonderful, and I wrote it down, but maybe you can say it again. And it was about a single tree in the forest is never heard, but a forest of trees.
I said I wanted to create a forest of voices because no one hears a voice in the forest.
Create a forest of voices. Yes. And so one voice you're not going to hear. You're not going to hear from too many of us unless you have a TV show. But if you have a forest of voices like our national network, Safe Kids Now, and we're all singing the same song, you're going to hear from all of us. We're going to be that voice in the forest.
It would be so wonderful if people could just understand that no matter where they are, they can make every day a little bit better just because they're in it.
That's right. We're like pebbles in a pond. You drop a pebble, and we have ripples. It's either positive or negative. So we're working on the positive.
Yes, if we could drop criticism and replace it with understanding.
That would be good.
If we could drop condemnation and replace it with caring and some positive attention about a person's good qualities, and everybody's got them.
And judgments. We need to drop our judgments, too.
Yeah, so many kids grow up being so criticized. They start to imagine that all those negative things that were said to them is who they are. That's not who they are. they've never had a chance to find out who they are.
Up a child with love, they'll show you love as teenagers. If you bring up a child with anger and frustration and ignore them, they are going to come back on you, and you're going to pay the price eventually for neglect. No doubt about it. I've seen it happen over and over again. We have a huge suicide rate. 5 children a day commit suicide.
Wow.
9 children a day are killed by guns. You know, these are young people. These are our children. And over 3,000 a day are dropping out of school. We are not paying attention to our children the way we should, and it is a national tragedy. And we need all of you adults to join us and be this forest of voices to make sure that people get the message that it's not just about the police. We got to stop blaming the police, like in Ferguson and Baltimore. We've got to start taking ownership of our children, and everybody can make a difference.
The eyes of the citizen go everywhere. The eyes of the policeman are confined to whatever his beat is that day. You can't expect him to know, be, hear, and solve where he cannot be.
Not only that, the national average is 2.4 police officers for every 1,000 citizens. It doesn't even make sense
And
to
it's,
assume that they can take charge of your neighborhood safety.
and it's getting worse. Now they're being attacked for trying to do their job.
That's because they've assumed too much power. As long as the police have more power and the people feel powerless, you're going to have this anger. Yeah, it's very sad, but the citizens have to take back their own power. They gave it up. They said, you know, I won't confront my neighbor about the barking dog or the juvenile delinquent that's knocking over mailboxes. I'll just call the police. The police come and talk to the child or the parents, and then they go away, and the problem gets worse. Yes, because you haven't dealt with the issue.
Right,
You know, if you don't deal with problems, they always get worse.
right.
So that means that neighbors have to be cohesive, and this is nothing new. This is as old as, you know, that's what a tribe does. You know, they work together and everybody takes responsibility for the kids growing up around them. It's not just the single parent that's struggling here. How do you help that single parent do a better job? By supporting them, by letting them know they're there. And if your child does something wrong, I'm going to tell you, and then you can discipline the child. But to ignore kids that are doing bad stuff, that's on all of us. That's sad. That's sad that we've allowed it to get this bad.
It is very sad. It is really a pathetic thing. We are really a strange species. We see a problem. I'm talking about the average person, not everyone, of course.
Right.
We see a problem. What do we do about it? We go in the house and shut the door and pull down the blinds. Get real!
That's the opposite of what we're supposed to do. If you see a problem, get those neighbors together and say, we got a problem. Let's solve it. Do you know, I have been in people's homes that have done exactly that, and you know what happens to them? I have seen people become sick. The stress level goes up, you know, shooting in the neighborhood.
Right.
People are dying at younger ages. They become paranoid. People are not connected. They're not helping each other. You're teaching them that.
Stephanie, the thing about insanity is that we have a cultural insanity that's embraced. And I've always been amazed at this. It's so prevalent in our society, everybody thinks it's normal. But let's think about it just for a second. You talked a bit ago about sex trafficking. These children get caught up into sex trafficking. Some of them literally come up missing and are sold on the sex market and whatnot. And they're out on the street and they're prostituted. And who gets arrested? They do. They do. I think that is, I think, whoa, that still is so amazing to me. How is it that they are the slaves? They are the slaves and they are arrested. That is so amazing to me.
Well, because they're out there and, you know, they're visual. The pimps that are hiding behind closed doors someplace and controlling these girls, are harder to find, and it's very easy for the police to just pick up the girls.
But the thing is, allegedly, our laws are based on a system of justice.
Yeah, well, that is changing slowly. I think the police are being better educated about the pimps, and they are going for the pimps. They're also looking for the Johns. The Johns are the people that drive up and engage the prostitutes and so forth. So in some cities, they've even listed the names of the Johns in the newspaper,
Good
which
for them. For them, it would. I don't think it would be wrong for the police to pick the girls up, but I think instead of arresting them and putting them in jail, it would be so much smarter to send them across to the country to some sort of rehabilitation camp and psychiatric care to get them back on their feet.
we don't have enough people that care, really. We don't have enough people that would take them into their homes and help them. For example, we have Regina Contreras, and she's in Hampton, Virginia, and she is starting a home for abused girls. She's the only one in the area, and she hasn't even got the home organized yet, and they've got a growing problem here. So, how many of us are willing to do this? Regina is.
Right, right.
Maddie Johnson is. They're willing to take them in. But there are an awful lot of girls. We have to have more people involved, and that means your audience. The people that we're talking to, we invite them to join us to learn more about what's happening in this society and join safekidsnow.com. It's right up at the top of our webpage. And send us your email, and we'll send you a newsletter and information about how to get on the teleconference call. Become engaged. Care enough to join a network that helps kids.
I personally want to challenge our audience today that's listening. Personally, want to challenge you to wake up each morning and to dare to make life a little bit better just because you're in it.
Absolutely. And if you don't think you have the power to make a difference, you don't understand how powerful you are, because you are amazing. You have this inner power. All of us have it. And you have gifts that you may not have even explored yet. We're going to give you an opportunity to explore some of those gifts, to learn from other people what they're doing. And if you care about kids, we invite you to join us. Rebecca is on the teleconference call, and we have other people, and we have guest speakers. You can hear what they're doing and how they're doing it, and join a group in your community, join a group with us, and get involved, because you are the ones that are the change makers.